Hey everybody, Dave Rollins here. So this is the Smartflex review. This is a new camera that it came out on Kickstarter last year and they finally got out to everybody. And so I've been very excited to both shoot the camera and to share the camera with everybody. A little bit of history, I've been shooting one of these Smartflex SLRs for years and I absolutely loved them. I also have been shooting a speed graphic, and so I've been a big fan of Smartflex cameras. But I've had a number of the SLRs and I've had some of them that had issues, and you know, being that the first one I ever got was from 1947, it was bound to have issues. It's a wooden camera with old mechanics, lubrications dry up and stuff. So given all those things, I was very excited to hear that there was a new project coming out to kind of revitalize these 4x5 SLRs and even bring new features to them. So that brings us to the Smartflex camera. I felt like there was really no learning curve for myself in this camera because it operates pretty much just like a Smartflex SLR, but with more features. It has things that I always wanted, like a built-in magnifier, which is, you know, very similar to Hasselblad and the RB67 that I shot for a long time. So that was, you know, one small little feature that I absolutely loved. The other one is, you know, when I shot the Smartflex, I had FP100C, so I was able to shoot instant film very easily. But being that now all we have pretty much is Instax, all the FP100C and Polaroid 665, 669, all that stuff is expired and hard to get and expensive. So the fact that this thing interchangeably shoots Instax and sheet film is absolutely awesome. I love that feature of this camera. I can quickly go back and forth. It takes about 30 seconds to change it between sheet film and Instax mode. So shooting Instax wide with this camera is absolutely awesome. And on screen here you'll see some examples while I'm talking. But that's one incredible feature of this camera that I absolutely love, is the ability to shoot instant film, because there's just something about instant film that having an actual tangible print is such a magical thing. So the fact that this thing can do that is amazing. And one thing I did start doing was using a 3-stop ND filter on the lens. I got a magnetic one. The filter size is 82 millimeters on this lens. And so I can quickly pop that on, and I've got the Instax at ISO 100, which helps with getting that shallow depth of field. I don't have to stop the lens down as much. Which brings us to the lens. The SmartNon lens itself is amazing. I think it's a beautiful lens. It focuses at infinity, and the close focus is 40 inches, which is great. That's a great working range, especially for portraits. One little quirk to know is that once you raise the focus screen to shoot Instax, this lens no longer does infinity focus. It's, I think, a little bit like 5 feet or 6 feet or something like that. I didn't measure it out, but it does limit you in that regard. So you do need a longer focal length lens if you want to shoot Instax wide at infinity focus, or for subjects that are further away. Overall, the camera feels really streamlined. Every function of it seems to work really well. One thing I love in comparison to my Smartflex SLR is that the shutter speeds are very consistent. I can safely shoot transparency film. And when I would shoot in cold weather or warm weather, my Smartflex would alter its speed a little bit, and sometimes I would get an over or underexposed transparency, which for those that know transparency film, you have very limited latitude. And so having accurate shutter speeds is a huge thing. Some have talked about how expensive these cameras are, and I do agree that the camera is expensive, and cameras in general can be very expensive. But think of the amount of research and machining and everything that went into making this machine. I mean, there's so much that went into it that of course it's going to be expensive. But in my opinion, it's worth every penny. If this is the type of thing you're looking for and you want to be able to shoot 4x5 handheld in an SLR, this is really an amazing option. I highly recommend it. I would pick this over an older Smartflex any day at this point. I had some concerns initially, but after getting the camera and shooting it, it's worth every penny. I bought the full kit, so it came with Instax, wide back, it's got the lens, and it came with a really, really nice carrying bag, which I was uncertain about whether I would use, but now that I've got the camera and I've got the bag, I'm using it all the time. I love it. In here I've got the Instax wide back and the mask that goes with it. Of course I've got the camera itself, and I've got a bunch of sheet film holders along with a little printed portfolio that I made for myself. In the front pouch I've got my light meter, a box of Instax that I've used. The back here has a little mesh pouch which I have been keeping a 3-stop magnetic ND filter. I bought an 86 millimeter and a step-up ring, but the lens itself is an 82 millimeter. And I've also got batteries for my light meter. That brings us to, it's got an insanely bright focus screen. Some folks have said to me, well, you can put a bright screen in a Graflex SLR. This is so much brighter than any screen I had put in the various Graflex SLRs I've owned. I put the brightest screens I could find into those and calibrated them. And still, even then, this is brighter, and which is great. When you stop the lens down, it's still not an issue focusing. And it came with masks that you can put on the inside for 6x12, 6x9, and Instax wide. So there's a little mask that you can put in there. I did have to remove the focus screen and calibrate the focus on mine. But the cool thing is that I had the ability to do so. The reason being that I could focus, I put the camera on a tripod and I could focus an image on the focus screen and then check it against the ground glass. So being that it has this ground glass in the back, I could calibrate the focus with the screen back here. And after doing so, I mean, the focus is great. I absolutely love the camera. There is some margin of error. I mean, the focus is slim. It's a very shallow depth of field. So it can be difficult to get focus. But with that said, I've had a lot of success, especially using the magnifier that's built into the camera. And I've shot almost all the images that I've taken with the lens wide open. So I feel the focus on this camera is great. The people at Smartflex let me know that I'm the only one that's reported that, having focus being off a little bit. I think for everybody else out there, you won't have an issue. But if you do, or if things change, you can always check against the ground glass in the back. And shimming it was the same as I'd done on my Graflex SLRs. I put some pieces of gaffer's tape. Each piece of gaffer's tape is about 0.3 millimeters thick. And so once I landed at 4 layers of gaffer's tape, it brought the focus screen to the perfect spot, and the front focusing issue I had was no longer existent. It brought it right to the perfect spot. The customer service from Smartflex has been amazing. They're very quick to respond to me, and they helped me to figure all of that out so that I could calibrate the focus screen. So overall, I absolutely love the camera. I have no issues with it. I think it's an amazing piece of machinery, and I'm just absolutely excited. They even put my name on it, so all the backers from the Kickstarter got their name and the number of which camera it is, which is, I think, a cool detail. I mean, everybody that I've showed the camera to, and I'm like, look, it's got my name on it. They're like, wow, that's so cool. I have mounted a couple other lenses on here, my Aero Ektar being one of them, and a 300 millimeter telephoto Fujinon lens. So for the Aero Ektar, there are some limitations. The furthest away I was able to focus was 5 feet and 5.5 inches, which is a pretty big limitation. That's only going to get you a close portrait. I mean, let alone any group shots, that's just not happening. But I did really like the glow that I get from the Aero Ektar. Here's a side-by-side comparison of the Smartnon lens and the Aero Ektar. I really like both of them. The Smartnon lens is exceptionally sharp, and it has a great background rendition. The bokeh is beautiful. But there's a soft glow that I really like to the Aero Ektar lens. And the cool thing here is that, like, you can put a bunch of different lenses on these cameras. So it takes Graflex or Linhof lens boards, and you can quickly switch out a lens. So you could try all kinds of different lenses. There is a limited focal range. With that said, all the main focal lengths that you'd want for portraits are accessible with this camera, which is great. One quirk to note with the 300mm telephoto lens is that there's a light baffle on the inside of the camera, and it ended up with a little bar that got blacked out on the top of the focus screen, as you'll see here. And that is the light baffle. When the mirror goes up, it's preventing any light from leaking in through the viewfinder and fogging the film or causing any kind of light leaks, loss of contrast, etc. So I was told I could cut it out, but I'm not going to. And the people at Smartflex let me know that they had some success with, I can't remember whether it was the 240mm lens or a 270mm lens, but there were telephoto design lenses, and I'm going to go ahead and give both of them a try because I feel like I really want to have a little bit more reach for some of the skateboarding and BMX images that I do. So yeah, it's an amazing camera. I do recommend that you take a moment to get used to it. Getting focus can be hard. Again, the depth of field is razor thin. So if you've got an image that you really like, it's worth maybe taking 2 sheets and just making sure that you nail that focus. And yeah, Smartflex. Beautiful camera. They are now available, so I'll put the link in the bio. They have gone up a little bit in price from the Kickstarter, but to me, it's worth every penny. I absolutely love this, and I really think everybody out there who appreciates what this thing can do will love the camera as well. I think one last little note here is it did come with an adapter that you can put your phone on here and take pictures and video through the viewfinder of the focus screen. I'm not going to talk really anything about that here because it's not really my cup of tea. I left it in the bag, I've still got it, but I don't plan on ever using it. So I'm not the person to ask about that. With that said, I have another video which I will also link below, and it is a user guide for the camera so that it'll hopefully help people who have never used a Graflex SLR before, or people that are just, trying to figure out how to use the camera. Hopefully it'll help everybody to get the most out of the camera, to get an enjoyable experience where you're not frustrated with using it. Alright, so thank you for tuning into this video. If you like what I do, you can go to my website. I've got a link below and buy a print, or I've got a couple donation options. So you could buy me a cup of coffee, buy me a roll of 35mm film, buy me a box of 4x5, and I've also got a photography lesson option on there. And so we could go over your photos, do a critique, we could talk about different techniques of photography. We could just talk shop. Your support helps me to continue to make these videos. So yeah, like and subscribe the video, helps the algorithm, and I appreciate you all so much. So thank you for tuning in, and until next time, Smartflex!